The thing I love the most about Judaism is that built into this incredible and ancient theological and philosophical system is the requirement, the orthopraxic obligation to dig, to go deep and abstract, and to mine the depths of not just a pasuk, right? Not just a sentence or a phrase, but even a single word, a single letter, a vowel, or a trope mark. Torah, our rabbis teach us, is black fire written on white fire. It is a limitless sea, an ocean filled with possibility, with potential, with myriads upon myriads of interpretation, insight, and commentary. That is what I love the most about Judaism. What I find most problematic about Judaism is that built into this incredible and ancient theological and philosophical system is the requirement, the orthopraxic obligation to dig, to go deep and abstract and to mine the depths of not just a pasuk, not just a sentence or a phrase, but a single word, a single letter, a vowel, or trope mark. I suppose that's what we call a paradox. My challenge, my wrestling with this comes down to the purpose of Torah Begadol, to the idea of what Torah is supposed to be. What is it supposed to be for us in our lives? And there is no denying that the deep profundity that comes from the excavating, from the deep and thorough study of our sacred text, that practice is beautiful to me. It fills my life with meaning and with a charge to keep moving, to keep exercising my neshama, my spirit, and my heart so that I can connect with God and with my tradition in a way that has the potential for something more. It has the potential for transcendence, for the mystical, for something metaphysical and ineffable. But that pursuit, that spiritual practice is also dangerous in the fact that it allows us to read and interpret Torah with our humanness fully exposed. And our humanness is, of course, very complicated. We're complicated. And this is where I wrestle. Because sometimes I feel like Torah might not want us to drash so much. Sometimes maybe God is just saying, let's not make this too complicated, okay? And I know that comes with complications and inconsistencies and the idea of relativism. I know all of that. But when I get to a parsha like ours this morning and I read these words, I feel like maybe here, and if not here, where, that this exercise is not about drash. It's not about interpreting. It's about living with intentionality. Intentionality in its purest form and its most direct way. So here are the words that are on my heart this morning. Ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. Ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. Love your fellow as you love yourself. And maybe it's because I'm a rabbi, or maybe it's just because I'm Jewish, but even saying the words aloud, I see the arguments. Right? The arguments of the ambiguous Hebrew, the psychological questions, the issues of time and place and context, and whether there are certain systems that underlie these words. I see all of those arguments popping up before me, even when I read those words aloud. In fact, when I was writing this sermon, preparing this sermon, I looked up the verse on Sefaria, which is an incredible resource, and when I clicked on it to see the commentary, there were 143 entries from the most prominent commentators, just from the most prominent commentators of our tradition. Some of them even having multiple comments on these three words. Rashi, Ibn Ezra, Ramban, Sforno, all the big names. And they all had a million things to say about what it means to love. Why? Why all the commentary? Is it really because there is so much ambiguity here? Is it really because we need a careful analysis of grammar, of history, of context, of theological intentionality to figure out what these three words mean? Or is it something else? Or is it because maybe we feel the need to comment on and qualify those concepts that are just the most difficult for us to carry out? The ones that maybe we don't like so much, that we don't really want to do. Because of all the complicated mitzvot and all the complicated things we are asked to do as Jews, loving people might be the hardest. And because it's so hard, we tweak it. We make arguments for what that love means and what it entails. Particularists argue that it means that we are to love other Jews. Universalists argue that it means we are to love everyone. Grammarians might suggest it means we love those who are close to us, who are friends or family. And historians might posit that the love here is about taking care of members of a tribe, and not necessarily related to our modern conceptualization of love at all. But what if that for these three words, there is no remez, there's no drash, there's no sod, there's no hidden layers going on? What if the only thing that needs analysis is our willingness? Is our willingness to na'aseh v'nishma, to do and to hear? What if this isn't a mine at all that we're supposed to excavate and uncover? What if it's a lighthouse? Not meant to be plumbed and navigated, but to simply guide our way and keep us on our path. What if love other people means love other people? Period. Without caveat, without an asterisk, an exception, or a footnote directing us to a list of those who are exempt from the commandment. That possibility might be truly frightening for us because, man, oh man, is that a tough commandment to follow. But this morning I suggest we give it a go. I suggest that for this instance, we don't worry about the consequences of how this affects our theological or philosophical methodology, that we let go of needing to be consistent or thorough in our approach to this text, that we stop with our so very human objections and we just love. And that when it's challenging to do, that we love even more and even harder. That we take away the buts or the particulars or the qualifiers and we just do it. And we might be amazed at just how much better everything is when we do. Wrestling is foundational to Judaism. We can't do away with it. We shouldn't do away with it. Torah is meant to be dissected and pored over, devoted to. But sometimes maybe the wrestling isn't meant to be about interpretation, but about execution. Sometimes maybe it's not about the text at all. Sometimes the wrestling is something that is about us. Torah is black fire written on white fire. But at the end of the day, it's fire. It is meant to warm us, to warm those around us, and to light up this world and to light our way forward. So let's walk. Let's follow that light. Let's love, and let's love bravely.